Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this right here. So this is week 9. This assignment was originally assigned on Thursday, so we're just gonna go ahead and continue with it. This was the original one, and we're just gonna continue on with the remaining portion. All right, so looking at this right here, we're gonna continue with number 16. So number 16, once again, you're solving for complex equations. Your goal here is to get x by itself, and clearly as you take a look at number 16, you have a 1 in front of this x right here. So on the left side, you can actually combine this. So you have two different x's. So you have 1/4 plus another way of writing 1 is just 4 out of 4, which then gives you 5/4. So on the left side, you have 5/4x equals -3 plus 1/2x. We're going to go ahead and move the x on one side. And excuse me, I always told you that move the smaller x, but given the fact that there's a number on the side, you got to move this x over to the left side. So I'm going to subtract 1/2 x so we can combine the x's together. That part cancels. And if you need to do the work on the side, you can do that. So 5/4 minus 1/2. Your lowest common denominator in the situation is going to be a 4. So change out with a 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So when you subtract it, 3/4. So 3/4x minus 3 equals, or excuse me, I'm sorry, 3/4x equals -3. You now need to get rid of the 3/4. The way you do that is, remember, it's with a reciprocal, which means you flip it. So then when you do that, the 4 and the 4 cancels, 3 and the 3 cancels. X is now by itself. It's now isolated. So remember there's a 1 underneath the 3. So if you take a look at this, notice I have the 3 on top and the 3 on the bottom. You can cancel that. So then -1 times 4 is a -4/1. So then x is just equal to -4. And that's your answer for number 16. Number 17. Okay, so here you have 1/3 plus 2m. There's nothing to combine on the left side of the equation. On the right side of the equation, m minus 3/2, there's nothing to combine here. It's very different than the left side of number 16, where they both have an x. You can combine them together. Here you cannot. So then what you want to do is you want to move the smaller x, or the m, the variable, which is -m. So I'm going to subtract m on both sides. When I do that, this m cancels, bring down the 3/2 negative equals 2 minus 1m is a 1m, positive 1/3. Then your second step, you want to get rid of the 1/3, so I'm going to subtract it on both sides. So when I subtract a 1/3, subtract a 1/3, draw your line. Then this side cancels. Bring down the m equals, you might want to do this on the side, -3/2 minus 1/3. Lowest common denominator is going to be a 6. So 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 3 is a -9. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 2 is a 2. So you should have a -7/6. M equals -7/6. If you don't write it into a proper fraction, remember 7 divided by 6 gives you a -1 1/6. So that might be a better answer. Okay, so for number 18. Number 18, if you take a look at the left side of the equal sign, you have m and 2/3, so you can't combine anything there. On the right side, you have a 1/4m minus 1, so you can't combine anything there either. So here are your steps. You always want to move the smaller x with a smaller variable. So in that case, it's 1/4m. So this is a 1. So when I subtract the 1/4m on the right side minus 1/4m on the left side, this part cancels. Draw down the equal sign, put the -1 on the right, drop down the 2/3. 1 minus 1/4, you want to do this on the side. Now, your lowest common denominator is a 4. So then what's going to end up happening is that you're going to put a 1 right there, multiply top and bottom by 4. So 4 minus 1 is a 3/4. So then I have 3/4m plus 2/3 equals -1. Second step, subtract the 2/3 on both sides. So when I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put minus 2/3, draw my line, cross that out, 3/4m equals, you want to do this on the side here. So you have a -1 minus 2/3. Remember, there is a 1 underneath here. Your lowest common denominator is 3. So then we're going to change that 1 to a 3, that to a -3. -3 minus 2 is a -5/3. So this is a -5/3. I want to get rid of the 3/4 with the m. So opposite of 3/4 is a reciprocal, which is 4/3. And so from there, you're going to go ahead and cancel the 4, cancel the 3. M is now isolated. -5 times 4 is a -20. 3 times 3 is a 9. So -20/9. But then remember, you want proper fractions. So 9 times 2 is 18. So then your quotient is 2. Remember, your answer is negative. 2/9. And that is your answer for number 18. Okay, so then flip your paper over to the back. You have several more. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 19. Okay, so for number 19, what you're going to do first, you're going to multiply and distribute that 2/5. So 2/5x minus. If you're not sure about this, it's 2/5 times 2/1, which is a 4/5, but it's a negative, okay, equals -3. So step 1, what we did here was we went ahead and distribute. Step 2, your goal is to get x by itself. X is not by itself. You need to get rid of the -4/5 first. So opposite of a negative is a positive. So add 4/5 on both sides. That cancels. Bring down the 2/5x equals. On the side, you should do the -3/1 plus 4/5. Remember, your lowest common denominator here is 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 5 is -15. So -15 plus 4 is -11/5. So that's -11/5 right here. Now, to get rid of a 2/5, you want to do the reciprocal. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So step 3 is multiplying everything by 5/3 or 5/2. On the right side and the left side. And then what ends up happening is that your 5 cancels, 2 cancels, x is now by itself. Notice that you have a 5 in the numerator and the 5 in the denominator. When you have those two things together, you could technically cancel them. So then you're left with a -11/2, and that is your answer. But remember, you want to put it into a proper fraction. 2 times 5 is 10, so it's going to be a -5 1/2. That is your answer. For number 20, let's go ahead and go over this. Step number 1 is obviously distribute, so let's distribute that. 3 times 2 is 6/4x. 3 times 1 is going to be a 3/4 equals 2. Step 2, you want to subtract 3/4 on both sides because you want to get the x by itself, and you don't do the 6/4 first because that's attached to the x. Opposite of a 3/4 is a -3/4. This part cancels, bring down the 6/4x. Step number, or actually before you do that, we want to make sure we combine this. So 2/1 minus 3/4, lowest common denominator is going to be a 4. So that means 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, 8 minus 3 is 5/4. Now you can go ahead and find the reciprocal, or use a reciprocal, which is 4/6, and multiply that on both sides. So then from there, we're going to go ahead and cancel the 4 top and bottom, cancel the 6. X is now officially isolated. And then notice how you have a 4 on top. So I'm going to cancel that as well. And I'm just left with 5/6. It is in a proper fraction, so I don't need to change anything. Okay, so for number 21, step number 1, you guessed it, you're going to distribute. 2 times 3, remember this is a 1 right there. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is a 3x. 2/3 times 1 is a positive 2/3. If you want to rewrite this, you can do 6 divided by 3, which is just 2, equals 5. Okay, step number 2. We're going to go ahead and subtract a 2/3 on both sides. So then what happens here is that part cancel, 2x equals, you want to work this on the side, 5/1 minus 2/3. Lowest common denominator is a 3. So then 1 times 3 is 3, 5 times 3 is 15, 15 minus 2 is a 13/3. So then here, it's a little bit different because you don't have a fraction in front of the x, you have a 2. You could think of it as like, I could either divide it by 2 and divide 2 on both sides. So in which case you'll do something like this. Okay, so that 2 cancels, x equals, if you're rewriting like a fraction with another fraction, it'll just be 13/3, change that division sign to a multiplication, 1/2, which will give you a 13/6. And then of course you have to divide this 13, 2 times 6 is 12. Your answer should be 2 and 1/6. That's the first way that you could do this. Now, an alternative way that you can do this, which I also want to show you, is so I don't have a ton of space, but that's okay. So from here, you have 2x equals 13/3. You could think of it as there's a 1 underneath the 2. So then remember, you still want to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1/2, like that. And then you just proceed on to canceling the 1, canceling the 2. X is now isolated. 13 times 1 is 13. 2 times 3 is 6. So again, you do get the same answer because remember, at this point, we have 13/3 times 1/2. That's the same thing as this part right here. We have the 13/3 times 1/2. So if you reduce it, it's still 2 and 1/6. So regardless of how you actually show the work, you'll get to the same answer. Okay, I'm gonna pause this video right here, have you go ahead and kind of think about this, and we'll continue with number 22, 23, and 24 on another time.